I am the way, the truth, and the life. The way of faith can take us on many different paths. This year, as we celebrate the Jubilee of Hope, we're called to be, as you see the banner right behind me, pilgrims of hope. Pilgrims, you're not a pilgrim unless you're on the way. You can't be a stationary pilgrim. You must be on the move from some point to some point. And hopefully that pilgrimage or that way or that route helps us to learn about our faith, helps us to encourage our spiritual growth and our understanding of maybe where God is in our lives. Sometimes we fall off the way and sometimes we try to scramble back on again. But our way is clear in terms of our destiny into eternity. The way the Lord speaks to us and encourages us along the way is to keep faith, to persevere, to hope in Him, to trust in His promises. The way may not be hugely clear to us from time to time, but we are called to persevere in that. And so this afternoon, Eileen Dunne is going to take us a little bit further along the way, along the line, beyond the headlines, to see where maybe that aspect of faith lies ahead of us. Eileen Dunne.
Thank you, Father Richard. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for that warm welcome. So how did I end up here? Father Richard rang, and I immediately thought of my mother, and that's why I'm here. We lost her earlier this year, but she didn't know I was coming, but she would be here. I brought her here about 3 years ago, and we had a lovely, lovely day. How appropriate it is, the two readings today, because one of the things I chose was the quotation from Pope Francis when he launched his bull of indiction for this Jubilee year called Hope Doesn't Disappoint. And he said, Christian hope doesn't deceive or disappoint because it is grounded in the certainty that nothing or no one will ever separate us from God's love. I think that's probably my starting point. I would very often disagree with the church and some of its workings, but I would tell you that I feel blessed to have been given the gift of faith, and nothing or no one will ever separate me from that. After that, perhaps it's an accident of birth that I was born a Catholic in Dublin. I could have been Church of Ireland in Belfast, I could have been Muslim in Paris, I could have been any number of things, but I was born into the Catholic Church, and it's dear to me. My God is dear to me, particularly. So I was here maybe 3 years ago, but as Father Richard said, I was here in 2018. So the theme of the novena is Pilgrims of Hope. My theme is Beyond the Headlines. So I just want to take you behind the headlines on that day, on the 26th of August, 2018. Horrible day, if you remember. Poured rain all day. Hair, makeup, forget it. No point. Just get on the raincoat and out there. But during that, it was quite a late call-up I got to come to Knock. And I'm so happy I was here. Because for those of you who were also here, you'll remember there was a particularly poignant and important moment when Father Richard called for silent prayer in the chapel and asked for it to be extended outside. And it was. There wasn't a cough, there wasn't a cry. You literally could have heard a pin drop. Meanwhile, I'm anchoring here in Knock, standing out there up on a height where everybody could see me. But back in Dublin, Katrina Perry was in the studio with a panel of guests. Michael Kelly, I think, was on it, and a few others. And suddenly, they hear silence. And broadcasters hear silence in a way that nobody else hears silence. So there's panic in that box. What's happening? What's happening? Have we lost the link to Knock? And I'm there going, please, please don't come back to me because I can't break this silence. This is just such an important moment. And if I start speaking, I'm going to break it for everybody else. Luckily, I had a floor manager that day, Tom Flanagan, the great Tom Flanagan. And he was able to mutter into his microphone saying, no, you can't come back. You have to take it up in studio. And so they did, and the moment passed. But it was a very important moment. It lifted me, I think, and everybody else who was here that day. And I walked away from here with a lot of hope. There was disappointment in Dublin, maybe, at the turnout. But I think what happened in Knock that day was particularly special. And I was very glad to be part of it. My career gave me moments like that down through the years, many of them. Meeting people that I probably never would have met in other circumstances. I wondered how I was going to get this all to hang together. And then I watched Ita Lohan the other night, Prison Chaplain, and I thought how completely different her life is to mine. The people she met along her path and the people I've met along mine. And yet we both find hope in different places. And I listened to Bishop Kevin as he is now yesterday. He was a parish priest in Clontarf, where I'm from, some years ago. His address was different again, but we're all coming at it from different angles. I suppose I was thinking on the way down, I was thinking of Mayo people. My husband told me, don't forget the Rosary priest. And the Rosary priest, Father Peyton, I know the family that prays together stays together. But I actually found another quote that I think is even more relevant on this particular day. The power of prayer can connect us and bring peace in our troubled times. And I would ask us all to have a little prayer today for what's happened in Washington. And how comforting and what a sense of hope I felt yesterday when all the different European leaders lined up to say, President Zelensky, we're coming with you. We're not going to let what happened in February happen again. And I think here's hoping for what happens later on today in Washington. I was also thinking of Gina Herity as I was driving down here, because I met her. The People of the Year Awards, she received one some years ago. And at the banquet, they put so-called celebrities at each table. And myself and my pal, Celine, happened to be with the Herity family. Now, the Herity family is a big family. They had 2 tables. But they were all in Dublin that night, and we had a great night. And I'm thinking of her and her family at this moment. And I saw somebody being interviewed the other day who was equally kidnapped in Haiti and said, don't worry, she'll get out. He was held for 6 weeks. And he said, she'll get out in the end. So again, here's hoping. Another aspect of my life was presenting the God Slot on RTE radio. Apart from conclaves and popery and all of that, I got to go to Rome when Pope Benedict was installed, and then I was rushed out again when he resigned. But in the intervening years, I presented the God Slot. It got me a gig at the Eucharistic Congress. I was one of the MCs in Croke Park, and that was a very special moment because many of you will know my father was Mick Dunne, Gaelic Games correspondent, so my 2 worlds collided that day, my broadcasting career and Daddy's. And as I said to somebody a short time ago, I had my wobble at the dress rehearsal the day before. I was okay by the time the Sunday came, but that was a very special day too. I also, on the course of that journey, met one of the most impressive people that I have ever met in my whole life, and that was Tommy Reichenthal, the Holocaust survivor, who came to Ireland in the 50s and never spoke about his experiences. He was a boy. He was only 9 or 10 years old when he was brought to Bergen-Belsen and spent over a year there. And he never spoke about it until he saw somebody on the Late Late one night, and he suddenly, out it came. And out of that came a book, and now he goes around the country talking to people. And there's a children's version of the book, which I think is fantastic because every child should be made aware of what happened. But the thing that struck me most about that man is that there is not a trace of bitterness in him, not even one. And he goes around inspiring people with hope for a better future and refuses, as he says himself, to become a prisoner of his past because it would poison his present. And I think that's a very important statement too. I then had the great pleasure, again at the People of the Year Awards, a couple of years after I interviewed him. I was going as a guest, and I got a phone call from my friend and colleague Anne Doyle, and she said, "Are you on your way out to City West?" I said, "I am. Have you got a gig tonight?" And I said, "No." And she says, "Well, you have now, because I'm supposed to present an award and I'm sick, so you're going to have to do it." And panic stations, okay, who is it? Tommy Reichenthal. I said, "You're grand, it's okay, I know." She said, "I'll send you all the bump." I said, "You don't need to, it's okay. I've read the book, I've interviewed the man, it's okay." Production team rang me, "Where are you? What time will you get here? Hair, makeup, blah, 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 blah. You know, we'll get you all the bump." "No, it's okay, we know each other." And so Tommy was delighted as well, so it was a great pleasure to meet up with him again. My influences obviously began at home. My parents My father actually was in All Hallows for a while before he became a journalist, so it was a very Catholic household. My mother was one of those women who was a civil servant and had to give up when she got married, a thing that she resented until the day she died. So she bred 3 very strong, independent daughters, and we were always encouraged to be the best that we could be. My schooling, I had a wonderful teacher in national school called Rita O'Regan. She died quite young, actually, in Scotland, but she was the first person who put me on a stage reciting poetry and doing readings. So basically, I owe it all to her. But she also gave us, as 10 or 11-year-olds, she gave us a prayer, which I have just said as I'm sitting back here before I came out, which went, "Dear Mother, remember how at Cana you went to Jesus and said, 'They have no wine.' Go to him now, sweet mother, and ask him for what we want." I've been saying that prayer for over 50 years. Then I went to secondary school, was educated by the poor servants of the Mother of God in Manor House School, Raheny. And when we graduated 50 years ago this year, at our graduation mass, excuse me, on the back cover of the booklet, they put the prose poem Desiderata. Those of you of my vintage may well remember, I got my bus pass last year. It was a big hit in the 70s. We all had it on posters in our bedrooms. And then an American singer, actor, Les Crane, released a single of it. You know those old things, the 45s? It's a prose poem. It was written almost 100 years ago in 1927 by an American poet, Max Ehrmann. It was thought for a long time that it dated from the Middle Ages because a priest in a church in St. Paul's in Minneapolis put it in a booklet for his parishioners, and he put the name of the church and the year that the church was built, which was 1692, I think. And people thought the poem dated from then, but it didn't. It's just almost 100 years ago. It's been the soundtrack to my life. I got it as a teenager. The nuns gave it to us as we were leaving. Best present we could get, I think. And all I have to say is that the older I get, the more it means to me. And I'm going to, if you permit, finish with it, and I'm going to dedicate it to the beautiful youth choir that I'm delighted to hear singing today. So, Desiderata, desired things. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, and without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant, for they too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons, they are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself to others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself, and especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labours and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. Thank you.